So we're on.
Okay.
Welcome everybody. Hello. Okay, let's start with the most important stuff. Let's go into gallery view. And okay, so before we start, I'm just going to tell you guys that this is being recorded. So if you do not want to be on camera, because this will be put online, now's the time to turn off your camera.
Yeah.
And so the most important thing we'll start with.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, Johanna, I see you. Where's your drink?
I'll go.
Enya, where's your drink?
Tea. I hope that's okay.
You can have tea, like you have. Louisa, where's your drink? Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah. Paulina? Oh, it's in a mug. All right. So
Done.
we are, and so, okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
And you just taught me to say cheers in
Na zdrowie.
Na zdrowie. Okay, Johanna, thank you. You have your wine now. Yes. And so, for those of you, like if you haven't met me, my name is Rikke. I am a psychologist and, working with ACT, training, supervision, everything. This year I've been Zooming ACT, so I am literally in my sweatpants, no makeup. This is how it looks. I put flags just to celebrate this evening. And so the whole concept of this is called Cocktails and Courageous Conversation. And the idea is that I get together with my favorite people and we have a drink and we have a talk. So this is not a typical webinar where we will show you slides and be very serious. This is something else. And for you guys tonight, I have one of my favorite people on this planet. This person, we just tried to figure out when we met. I think we figured out it was 2.5 years ago. We met at a workshop, and we've been like this ever since then. So Sabina, my friend, is in. I'll have you introduce yourself. And you're in Poland, and we speak regularly, and other than being a trauma therapist and a very skilled ACT practitioner, you're also one of the sweetest people in the world. And just recently, I just wanted to show you guys, you sent me this little bracelet just because you wanted me to be just because you wanted to put a smile on my face. So I adore that you come here, and you're so clever, you're so sweet, and the people who are here to meet you. So why don't you come on and tell me a little bit, tell us about, I know who you are, but the people who are here, tell us who you are. No pressure with this introduction. I'm telling you, you're so brave and so all of this. Just tell me, who are you?
What a question. It's like if we have 2 days. I'm a very complicated person. But first of all, I love my job. And my job is mostly about trauma, educating about trauma, trauma therapy. And I absolutely love it. When you invited me to this meeting and you told me, well, Sabina, why don't you take some light topic, not so heavy? I thought, oh my gosh, for me, trauma is maybe not a light topic, but I can talk about it with light. So, I do trainings, ACT trainings, trauma trainings. I write about ACT on my web. No, it's not only mine, but I write about trauma and ACT on my webpage. It's o psychologii.pl. It's in Polish, so sorry guys. Maybe one day it will be in English, but not now. And I absolutely love Rikke. She has on her webpage this sentence that I will be your wing woman. And that is what exactly she is. She's my wing woman. She's like my angel. And she supported me in so many ways that like I cannot even express right now. So first of all, I want to thank you, Rikke. It's maybe the first time I can do it like online, but many things that happened in my life, in my professional life and in my private life are because of you. So also this, because this is the first time in my life history when I am talking in English live to the public, maybe not, you know, to some guys in pubs or, you know, on some private conversation, but it's the first time. I'm totally afraid right now, but with you, it's possible. And that is Reiki.
And so one of the things that so before we get into the trauma thing, one of the things that I know about you is that you have given like pretty large talks in Poland, like, because I know that you're like I don't know how to translate it, but a fire soul, like you are doing so many things within your community. And I know you're giving big talks, and I know, you know, I've been supporting you just before you went on stage. And one of the things that I hear is going on is there's so much political stuff going on, and that you are fighting that. That's one of the things that I admire you. You are standing up for women. You're standing up for people of like different, you know, sexual orientations. And I just wanted to explain to you know, or let people know that you are one of these people who will fight for women and for different sexual orientations, and you do that, and you will not shut up. Like nobody can shut you up on that. That's one of the things that I admire about you. So yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think I'm a warrior a little bit, and right now it's really needed in this country, in Poland, to be a warrior, especially female warriors. So I recently meet many female warriors in my, you know, career and life, and it is wonderful. So thank you for expressing this this part of my activity.
Like the world needs more female warriors, and like the way you go to war is full of compassion and kindness and love. And that's one of the things that I love about you, Sabina, is that the way that you are in this world, you're such an inspiration, and we're honored to have you here. And so I was asking you, so if you and me go to a bar and we have a drink as we're having now, Stavros, tell me again, I can't keep forgetting it. How do you say cheer? It's amazing. You'll have to remind me. Nostrovia. And so we go to a bar and we have a drink, and I'll talk to you about what is it that sets your soul on fire. And then you immediately said it's trauma. And not only trauma, it's how we therapists are being influenced by that, and how we can take care of ourselves. And so that was what you want, like we could, like any of us in here in this webinar right now, we could go to a bar, we could talk about so many things, but that's what really sets your soul on fire. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, what's your so tell me about working with trauma. What's it like for you? What kind of trauma do you work with?
What kind of trauma do I work with?
Trauma, yeah.
Mostly sexual trauma. And yeah. I apologize for all triggers that I will use in this trauma work. We need to warn about triggers. So sometimes I will only use this like sentence. I will never go into details, but yeah, it's mostly sexual trauma, but also other types of trauma, relational trauma, complex trauma, single trauma. But it's the rare occasion to work with single trauma. For example, car accident. It's really rare. We have more difficult problems right now in Poland, maybe. I work especially with women. Yeah, so it's a little bit longer work than like with other stuff, I would say. It's more gentle, it's more, maybe not more, but it's very mindful work, being mindful of my client, of myself. Am I triggering something? is he or she triggering something in me right now when he's telling his history? I really want to tell you guys today about telling stories about trauma, but I will tell it later. So that's my job, and I love it. Seeing someone who is totally like stuck, blocked in his life, fossilized in his life, and then seeing him blossom is like the best reward I can have in my life, to see people who are going out of their cages, of their prisons. It's like, you know, it's really about making something what is important in my life, working with trauma. And it's always important. It's like never going to my office and saying, oh my gosh, what's boring is happening today in my calendar. Yeah, so that's what I do.
So I hear that you're so passionate about working with women and seeing her and getting her out of her cage and like living a more vital life. Why do you think it's hard? Like, so for many of us, it might not be true to all of you listening, but it can be so hard working with trauma. For me, I can get really like kind of stuck in the stories of the people that I work with. I feel so sad from the stories that I hear. I feel like I can't do enough. I feel like sometimes, and I don't know if we will talk about this, so we'll see if this shows up. But I haven't personally suffered like, I have some trauma, but not all trauma. And sometimes I will feel like guilty or feel bad because like I can't say I know what you're feeling because I haven't been experiencing that. So in so many levels this can be so hard. And also like listening to the stories of people who've been traumatized is it's difficult for the patient, obviously, and it can be so difficult for us therapists to sit in these stories all day long, and then trying to come back to pick up your kids and have a drink and all of that. What is your take on that? Why is it difficult, Sabina, to be a trauma therapist?
Because we have human beings and we have our brains who are really into listening to and feeling suffering of others. It's hard because we are normal, because we have our emotional brain and this brain works perfectly.
Yeah.
But is it a good moment to tell about telling stories about trauma in therapy? Can I put it in this particular moment?
We're just like 30 women in a bar having a drink. You can you can do whatever. Like, this is us just chatting. And can I just say, for everybody who's in here, feel free to come on and interact with us and ask questions. Like, you have like your go-to girl right here. And if you have a question, if you want to interact, we absolutely encourage that. Or if you just want to come in and say cheers, that's fine too. Please go ahead, my dear. You were saying.
Because I'm just, eager to say this particular thing. The life-changing rule about working with trauma was that I don't really have to listen to trauma stories. And that was like mind-blowing for me when I heard it for the first time during my trauma therapy training. I will tell you a story because I always tell stories and we are having cocktails. I went to my first trauma supervision with my trauma teacher, and I started telling my story about, and here we will have some triggers about a client with sexual trauma and with severe violence history. And in one moment, she told me, Sabina, stop. I don't have to hear this story to help you. probably when I will hear story about this trauma, it will trigger me, and it will make me less useful for you. So let's really ask this question: is it really, really useful for me to hear all the details? And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. That's what I thought about therapy, that you tell your stories in therapy. And she told me, no, it's not the aim of therapy, listening or telling stories. Aim of therapy is different. Aim of therapy is goal of therapy is to set your client free. And then I meet you, Rikke. It's a personal story. And we had the exercise. If you were never to Rikke workshops, you have to do it. You have to go to Rikke workshops because they change life. I know that Agnieszka is here with me, and I was during this workshop with Agnieszka working together. And you want us to write our secret on a little paper card, like on this one. So I wrote my secret on this card, and you ask us to give this, yeah. But it wasn't this one with labeling. It was about literally secrets. So I put my secret here. I did like this. And I gave it to Agnieszka. And Agnieszka is another wing woman in my life. And she held it so gently, with love, like with compassion to my little secret. And then she gave it back to me. And I felt that it's not so heavy anymore, my secret. And I didn't even, tell Agnieszka my story about my secret. And, these two situations, the supervision and your workshop, it helped me understand that I don't have to know the stories of my clients. I just need to hold them like tightly. I have to give them love, my awareness, I have to be Agnieszka in my therapy. I have to be Agnieszka. So this is the stop rule that I use, that when my client is telling his story again and again and again, I ask myself as an ACT therapist, is it really working for him or for her? Is it really working in this therapy? Maybe we don't need to hear this story again. Sometimes we don't even need to hear it once, because it's more about the relation with this story, with this story about trauma. It's more about this than about, listening again and again. And that these two moments, they changed my life. I became more resilient because I knew that I can say, even during therapy, that, listen, this is the moment in which I have to say, stop. And this is stop saying with love to you, but I cannot keep any more inside my body. So this is the rule number one. And of course, there are exceptions to this rule. Sometimes people, especially if we are talking about sexual trauma that happened to children, and we are working with them as an adults, they are adults right now. Sometimes they really need someone to hear their story that no one before heard. And here I am, I can listen to this story, but in this particular case, it is useful. It is working for this client to tell me the story and to be listened with like love, empathy, compassion. But it's not always the real goal of therapy session. So, it's easier to think about trauma therapy when we are thinking about these cards and not about words, because trauma therapy is all about triggering something. Also with me, inside myself. And I have to stay like, I need to be mindful for my client. If he will trigger something in me, I will lost my sometimes attention. It happens in trauma therapy that therapists become dissociate, that dissociation happens, and it will not be useful. So sometimes I tell about this rule, the stop rule at the beginning, that I will sometimes use it in therapy just to take care of myself, and also to show my client how it is to take care of himself. And it's beautiful that I don't have to be a container for my client's stories and emotions. I have to be someone who will help him to set him free. So that's what I wanted to tell you with my wine in my hand.
So let's and some of you are, I think, I recognize some of your names. You've been to my workshop, so you've done a similar exercise. But I just wanted to tell everybody who's here, about the exercise. I was taught this exercise by Jason Luoma and Jenna Lushen in a workshop about shame. And basically what you do is you write down, I'm just having this one here because I did a thing today where we were working on this thing. And so this is not a secret, but you will write down, then you'll ask people to write down something difficult. And that could be like a big secret, or I think the workshop you attended, Sabina, it was like a secret or something that you will never want to share with anybody. And again, I think this was developed in the context of shame, like something that's really, really difficult. And then you never show anybody.
Yeah.
And you put this you fold this into a piece of paper like this. And then I'd have my participants, so this was done in a training, I'd have my participants sit in front of each other and then take each other's note. And then I'd invite them to notice that they're now sitting in front of another person who is now holding that difficult thing about them. And notice what that is like. And then I would invite people to hold. So first, just going to rewind. Before they switch notes, when holding, just imagine everybody who's listening now, imagine now that you're holding that difficult thing about you. And then I'll ask you, how would you want to hold? What is your instinctual, what does your mind say about this? And most of us will go, I don't know if this shows on camera, but we'll go like this, we want to hold it far away from, we want to throw it away. We don't want this shit. And then I ask people to switch and just notice now that you're holding the struggle of the person in front of you. And then I invite you to hold this struggle in kindness and compassion. And that can look differently, but for many people, it means taking this piece of paper. Now you're holding your partner's paper. So I if you and me were doing this, Sabina, I would now sit with Sabina's struggle and holding this in kindness and compassion. And that would, for me, it would mean like having it touch my heart and sitting like this. And so for a little while, have people notice what it's like to watch somebody else hold that story about you close to their heart. And what it's like to hold somebody else like that. And then after a while, I'll have people switch back. And the invitation then is to hold your own story the way you so willingly held your partner's story. So you will see this is a great, this work touches upon perspective taking and compassion. And it's just it's an amazing exercise. And I'm doing this with my clients as well, though it's even though it's not a training situation, I will write down something that is difficult for me, and I'll ask the patient to do the same thing. And as Sabina said, I don't even need to know what story it is. I don't need to know the details of the story. What I need to know is that the story in and of itself has an aversive function, and you do not the person does not want to be in contact with the story. And then we'll hold each other's stories, and then my patient will see me holding it close to my heart. And this is the cool thing, that the patient will willingly, like any patient you have will probably willingly hold your story, like, if close to their heart.
Yeah.
And then we switch back and we ask them to hold their own story. And the cool thing about it is that, like, I've never met anybody who would not hold my story. So the skill of holding something in kindness and compassion and with love, the skill is there. What we then need to train is the skill of doing that with your own. But like, just notice, like, I've never met anybody who wasn't able of like taking something difficult and holding it towards their heart. So this is an amazing exercise. And I just want to give credits to Jason Leoma and Jenna LeShun, who taught this to me. And I'm just so happy that you got to practice that with me, Sabina, and that you took this on to your patients, because I think this is what we do. People who inspire us teach us stuff, and then we bring this to our patients and to others. So, I really, I love that you admire what I do, and I admire what you do, and I admire what everybody is doing in here. And just like, we're the product of other people's amazing stuff. So like, we're all in this together. And so I just wanted to explain the exercise to you, and I can really, really, really recommend that you try this in your practice. And it doesn't have to be with trauma. It could be with people who are highly self-critical or full of shame and etc. Just wanted to, yeah. And so, okay, so you're saying, and I love this. So you're saying we don't need to know the particulars of the story. We need to know that the story in and of itself is difficult, and we need to find another way of carrying it. Now, one of the people that I have the pleasure of working with is, I don't know if you know, Dr. Edna Foa, who has developed like the manual for prolonged exposure. And I think that this particular discussion I have not had with her. I've known her for a long while. We talk a lot, and she's actually a dear friend of mine. But she would say that, we need to know the details of the story. And so just noticing how more like traditional CBT differ from, the ACT model.
Yeah, we don't. We are more interested in the function of the stimulus, not in the content. So, of course, if it is not about not listening to the client, but asking always the same question, very easy question: is it really working?
Yes.
Because in trauma response, because trauma is more a response than an event. It's in this trauma response, sometimes, or maybe very often, you disconnect from your body. And what you observe in people who are telling about their traumas is that it is their head talking only. Their head is talking, the head has all the answers, the head is in control, and the body is disconnected. It's like there's no vitality, no energy in the body. So we cannot, as trauma therapists, it would be difficult to let people talk about their stories, not being in touch with their bodies. Trauma response is not only psychological, it's not intellectual. It is also like, you can find it in your body. It's like your body response. So you need to engage body, and it's even more important. And I love in this, in this exercise that it's a very experiential exercise. It's not intellectual. And there's another layer of this topic, that people who were traumatized, they are highly intellectual, sometimes, not all of them, but there is this tendency often to be in their head and to try to think about what happened, why it happened to me, why it didn't happen to someone who is that person. Let's call it like this. So we need to bring attention of our clients to their bodies and to their experience, not only intellectual discussions. So that's why I love this exercise, that you can really talk about how does your body reacts to holding your secret, your struggle. Struggle is perfect word for this. Yeah, so we have many layers, and of why only talking about trauma may not work. Even, that's what I often say to my clients, that sometimes talking about your trauma may be avoiding something what is difficult inside you, because words are always more safe than this you know, chaotic reaction of your body. So I don't want to frighten my client, but slowly, and being like doing slow therapy is for me, doing trauma therapy. I have to train with them, being aware of what is happening inside my body, not only inside my head. So yeah, that's how I do it. And
I love what you're saying, that you're literally aiming at getting an experiential, like an experience, and leaning into, which is like the basics of exposure, like leaning into it rather than trying to explain it. I'm noticing that one of you has, you know, raised her hand, Mrs. Like Johanna, aren't you like the president of the association? You know, come on and tell us. You are like Mrs. President.
Yes, I'm Mrs. President.
Yes, the president of the Association for Behavior. Oh, what is it in Sweden?
Behavior therapy.
Mrs. President, we salute you. Welcome.
Na zdrowie from Poznań.
Na zdrowie, Mrs. President.
I actually wanted to say something.
Yes.
Yeah, because so I actually chose this. Now I can lower my hand.
You can lower your hand.
Yeah. I was actually, because I do a lot of, when I do exposure therapy, when I work with trauma, I do the FOA stuff, or the sort of combination DBT and prolonged exposure. But I'm thinking about this exercise you were doing, how wonderful it would be to do that in the processing part, where you sort of, you know, because you notice afterwards, like what thoughts were coming up, what feelings were coming up, how does this struggle look for you now? I could just say, write down, you don't even have to tell me, which are the most sort of problematic thoughts and emotions that you struggle with concerning this trauma, and do this exercise. And I think, like, I mean, just the thing about sharing that, like, well, I also have struggles. You don't have to know them. It's just like, can we do this? So I'm having one tomorrow. I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it.
I'm going to do it. It's going to be, I think this will be actually very, very helpful for this person, because I know there's a lot of shame.
Yes.
A lot of thoughts about not being deserving of, you know, having a good life, and, you know, all this crap going on.
I love that you're going to do this, Johanna. And you know, first of all, like, so what you're saying, like, just like targeting the emotions and the thoughts, and we don't need to know the content. We just need to know that it, like, that there's a difficult relationship with it. And I love that you're willing to try it. And again, can I just say, like, please, when you do this with people, write down something that is difficult. Like, you just write, exactly. So you don't write down.
I'm not bullshitting anyone.
So I know you're not. I know you, girl. But, you know, I've seen therapists writing down, like, remember to buy milk, like something they will write. Something somebody will read it. So the encouragement is to write something that is difficult, because then you'll be, like, totally authentic, and so tears will probably show up, and you know, show up. It is an amazing exercise. And, Johanna, I know this webinar is over soon, but so, this will end, but please connect with me and tell me how this is going, because, we want to know, and Sabina will want to know. And so we love it whenever we do something in here and you're like inspired to go out and do it, hallelujah.
Yeah. I remember Kel Wilson on his workshop in Warsaw, he used the metaphor of, I'm not sure the English word, cactus, this plant with
the cactus. Yeah,
it's a cactus. And he used this metaphor of holding the cactus, and cactus is of course a struggle. And he asked us, like, imagine that you are holding it like this. How much pain it will provoke. It's damaging to hold it right like this. And right now, imagine that you are holding the cactus right like this, with love, with your full presence. Like a treasure, like something that is in some way very important in your life. And how does it change your relation with this cactus, with this, with this symptom, or with this story? And it is amazing. And I found in ACT work so many useful metaphors. Thanks to you, Rikke, and thanks to Jason Wama, and thanks to Kelly, and thanks to many, many amazing people that I really like, using these metaphors in my practice. We can use the same metaphor for struggle or for trauma for the whole therapeutic process. We can set it in the beginning and then ask about changes. My favorite ACT question is, did something change? What changed? Maybe open question is better. And to learn, to teach my client how to notice very subtle changes in their bodies, because it's like an ongoing process of feeling my body, of finding names for sensations in my body. So I will use this metaphor of cactus or of the card during the whole therapeutic process. And I'm sure that for some of my clients, it will rest with them for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
And that's beautiful. The therapy never ends, that it can be useful like 20 years after therapy. I love this part. I love this.
And the thing, like, I think you just keep nailing this, Sabina, because it seems like the trouble is not, well, of course, we would wish that people were never traumatized. And the memory of the trauma in and of itself is really not the problem. It's kind of the way that you hold it. And so what we want to train or want to teach people is to hold things differently, because basically what we're asking them is that, can you take this thing? And it's, of course, it's not just a piece of paper. This is difficult, but can you take this, and I'm going to swear again, can you take this shit and hold it? So you can hold it like this, like the cactus, and it will hurt you. But could you hold it like this in the service of living a valued life, like in the service of taking steps towards the life that you find meaningful? And so I've worked a lot with trauma, and I've had PTSD therapies where I do not know the trauma, I do not know what trauma it was. I just know the function of the memories, and so the holding of the way you hold it has been different. And so, Sabina, one of the things that I know that is dear to your heart, that sets your soul on fire, is also to talk with therapists about how can we take care of ourselves. I remember one of the patients that I had, without saying too much, but I would have to put this person late in the afternoon on Mondays, because I know I knew I'd have to travel for 2 hours, and I would literally cry for 2 hours in my car. I was just devastated. And so I'm not saying I feel bad for me. I'm just saying that this affected me so much. I was literally two hours a week crying my eyes out for this work. And so, I'm guessing all of you who are here will know that this is difficult, and I'm not sure I was taking particularly well care of myself. But I know that, from talking to you, that you find it so important that not only to work with people who has encountered trauma, but to work with therapists who are doing work with trauma, because it's difficult. So how do we take care of ourselves?
Well, maybe it's not a technique, maybe it's just a perspective that I have about the lifeline, that in this moment I'm experiencing something sad, something tough, something difficult, but on my lifeline, I can see myself in different, moments of my life. And some of them, if I look at this situation from other perspective, for example, from the perspective of my very old self, like 90 years old, I will see this situation differently. So I practice it a lot, this, perspective taking. How would I see the situation if Rikke was with me? yeah, I really do this, that I invite my mentors, my supervisors, my friends to my office, to my practice. Of course, it's like a metaphor, but probably this research that says that when you are with your friend or beloved one, you have more space for emotions. You are more flexible to experience difficult emotions. So I really work a lot with metaphor, because working with trauma is using your imagination and learning your client to use his imagination again. But I really use this technique that I invite people who help me to have more space for my clients' emotions.
So can I just so it sounds like you're using one of the techniques that we use a lot in ACT, like the perspective taking technique, the self as context. And so whenever you find yourself in a struggle, it sounds to me like you're saying what we could do is imagine a mentor. Like what would you use my name, and I'm just so honored that you'd use. So what would Rikke do? What would Kelly Wilson? What would Robin Waltz like? What somebody that you look? What would Oprah? What would Beyonce? What would Freddie Mercury? Like Prince? Like what would that person do? And also one of the things that you mentioned here that I find I do this a lot as well, that you connect with an older and wiser version of yourself. So imagine that you are older and you have, you're naturally wiser because you are older and you've lived these battles and you have made your way through life. And I found this to be such a beautiful exercise to imagine yourself in many, many years, the wiser version of you. And if he or she could come back to you and give you a piece of advice. And basically, so I love what you're saying is this like borrowing the perspective of somebody else and looking at yourself with compassion.
Yeah.
And to have compassion for that struggle. And so when we're working with trauma, it hurts. The patient is hurting, and the therapist is hurt, because we're as you said before, Sabina, we're humans and we connect and we feel things and we're empathic. And so this hurts. And then borrowing so I literally said this I had a patient earlier today, and I said, and this patient was really struggling, and I said, feel free to borrow my eyes, feel free to borrow my perspective. And so, see yourself through the eyes of somebody else. And it could be somebody else, or it could be yourself in the future.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to amplify what you were just saying, that this
Yeah,
is
thank
so
you.
important to use perspective taking and then borrow. So you'll sometimes, Sabina, you'll borrow me and I will borrow you. Like I will, if I'm struggling, I would, I will, think of you. There's this, like the thing that you send me. And I know, like when you and I were talking about this is totally internal, but you and me were talking about in a diary, and you saw it, and all of that. So we can connect with people that matters to us, and
Yeah.
people that we know will hold us in compassion and kindness. And that is just like, this is beautiful, because we, in every moment, we have the ability to take that perspective. It might be hard, but in every moment we can always go to that place where we imagine somebody else looking at us with compassion. And so, yeah, it meant the world to me that was your response, Sabina, and that would be your advice to us. So imagining somebody looking at us with compassion. What else? Like, how else do we take care of us?
Well, I will use another metaphor. Let's pretend that we see our client as being in a kind of cage or prison. Mm-hmm. And this is probably how he sees himself. And my role as a therapist is to see the broader image of his life. It's my duty in this therapy is to see more than this cage. And of course, I need to ask him how is this cage built? I'm interested in all of that, but I'm really here with him or her to see more than he sees about himself or herself. That you are bigger than this. I don't even have to say it, but if I lose this perspective, I am probably fused with his story, or maybe I am a little bit infected with his avoiding mechanism. That maybe I am avoiding something because the strategy came to my office. So I need to ask myself, like in every moment, am I seeing more than he sees? Because that's my role, to see him, her bigger than he thinks he is. And that's the most wonderful part of my job.
Oh my God, I love what you're saying. I keep telling, whenever I train therapists, I keep saying that one of your most important functions is to be the vicacious hope. Vikarierende hope, vikarierende hope. Vicacious hope, like to be the stand-in hope. Like the person does not have hope for him or herself. And so what we can offer them is that we can see more that they see themselves. And I love that you're saying this. It goes so well, it reassures me in my work. One of the things that I'm thinking about, and I don't know if I've ever, this is non-rehearsed, and I have a drink here, but imagine that this is empty. I would want to just finish it, but then I would get hammered, so I can't do that. But imagine you have okay, I don't have an empty glass, but I will have, okay, so this is a candle, and so sometimes we just take what we have, and imagine that we've been working with these notes, writing down the actual assault. It might be the sexual assault, and then we put in the glass, and the trauma, and I'm just taking what I have here, and the shame. So I would ask people, so what shows up for you in this situation? And they would say this happened, and then there's the shame, and then there's the disgust, and in lack of requisites, I would, I'd like to have a clean glass and a billion notes, but I don't. So,
yeah.
just imagine you have a glass or a cup or something, and then you put down the patient's stories. It could be of the actual assault, it could be of the shame, it could be of the disgust, and it could be like the why would anybody do this to me, and I don't deserve this, and etc., etc. And I would put all of these stories into a glass, and I'd say to my patient, so just notice that around all of these stories, there's something holding these stories, and that is you. Like there's something here that is whole and intact and surrounding all of these stories. And people will go, sometimes people will go, this is a stupid exercise. And I'll put, this is a stupid exercise into the glass. And can we just notice that there's something holding all of these stories that is intact? And so I'll say sometimes to my, and this has been like in my trauma patients, this has sometimes been, some people, won't get this. And for some people, this has been a game changer where I've said, regardless of the way that you hold yourself, I will hold yourself like this. You are the one who has all of these stories and memories and thoughts and feelings and experiences.
Yeah.
But you're the container, like you are the one holding these. And I think this just goes Sabina, beautifully with what you just said, like we can offer people a different perspective than the ones that, like, they will go, I am disgusting. They will go, this should not have happened. And all of that might be, the experience of it might be, more or less true. But if we can take a perspective of, like, I am the one who can notice all of these stories and experiences. So that would, technically that would be doing self as context in practice, right? So just, sorry I took off, but you were just saying something that resonated with me. And I just love that what you're saying, like the way that, and that's the one thing I love about you, because we meet and I listen to the way that you talk about your patients and the way you describe them. And one of the things that I can see that you are offering them is that the way that you see them, like you do not see your patients as broken or wrong or sick. You see them as having difficult experiences and being perfect, beautiful human beings, and that their stories might be difficult, but the person is not. Yes. Okay. Look at all what we got out of a candle and all of that.
Yeah, that's what I do. I use what I have.
We use what we have. Yes. Okay.
I can tell you the last rule, maybe not the last.
Please do. Please do.
I think what I found useful is diversifying my job, not doing only trauma work, not only seeing trauma patients in my practice. So that's why I do so many trainings and lectures and webinars, because it gives me energy and it gives me like some fresh air that I can take with myself to my office. So I would highly recommend, if someone is working with trauma, to do also something totally different, to keep being flexible, because when you work with trauma, you see trauma all around you, like in my dog, and in my neighborhood, in the Polish politicians, everywhere. I see trauma everywhere right now. So as you told me about borrowing the perspective, sometimes I would like to put another perspective of someone who is interested in, let's say, dogs, just dogs. Let's say dogs. I love dogs. Or someone who is not only trauma therapist, because it's not working, nor for me, nor for my client. I want them to see me as as a person who really likes to touch different aspects of life, to be full of life, because that's the way how I provoke life in them. And sometimes people who experience traumas, they don't have this, they need to recall to, they need to learn it again, how to be full of life again. So that's my role as a therapist as well.
I love what you're saying, because it sounds like it's, you know, and the interesting thing, like if I listen to you, like the way you would advise us as therapists to handle like the difficulties of working with trauma is basically what you're saying to clients, right? Like what, you know, what would somebody else, like the way we carry the trauma as a client and as therapist, you're inviting us to take compassionate and kind and perspective towards the trauma, like the difficult situation. And it sounds to me like you're also saying that maybe we can focus on more than that. Like there's this difficult thing, and there's art, and there's, I know you're into fashion, and you know, that person who does, you know, he told me about this person who does all these amazing things.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember him.
And so all of the but like broadening the repertoire of where we put our attention, it just resonates so much with me, Sabina, that we're like, basically I think you're inviting us to kind of take our own medicine, aren't you?
Yeah. That's all what ACT is about.
That's what ACT is about.
I'm the same as you, and I am doing the same training. I'm not at the same stage. Maybe I'm even weaker in some, you know, areas of my life, but I do the same training every day. I wake up, I take the cold shower, which is true. Then I train flexibility, and I think that my clients, they can really feel that we are on the same boat
Like you will literally, and I know you will, you will practice what you preach, and that is actually a beautiful gift, I think, for me, that we can give our patients, that if we don't only like, so if you're into ACT, don't show it. Well, sorry, don't talk about it, but show it. Like literally, it's so easy sometimes to talk about ACT. It's something completely different to actually, you know, demonstrate and show ACT. And so we're at the very end of this webinar, and so just wanted to check if there's any questions for us, any comments. Like here, you know, you can maybe you just want to cheer with us. Say Nebraska. Say it again. What? How do you say cheers in Polish?
I was reading the comments, sorry. Na zdrowie.
Na zdrowie. It's amazing. Like it cannot stick to my brain. So anybody wants to have a question or a comment, or, you know, throw a tomato at us or give us a hug or anything, that now would be your time.
Hugs are cool. Hugs are really recommended.
Hugs are recommended. And much needed now.
You know what? I think that I'm much more full of life when right now when I work with trauma than when I didn't work with trauma, which is like strange, but I think it gives me lots of energy working with trauma. That's strange, but
well, and it might not be that strange, because I think you're making a huge difference for the people in your life. And I think the people who are here with us, you know, can we just take like a second to remember the impact like that we have on people? And sometimes we think like, oh my God, we have to, you know, invent the moon, your brain surgery, and you know, travels to the all of that. And just remember that we are sitting with people all day long who has a struggle, and we're the ones who will listen to that and hold their hand and give them a little compassion. And I just want you to remind all of us that we are making a difference simply by being the ones who are there for their patients, for our patients. And we are the ones who are, you know, giving a little love and offering a little perspective and saying some encouraging words. So, you know, a big reminder to all of us. All right. I noticed that it's now 8 o'clock, and we promised we'd finish now. People probably have to go to bed or put kids to bed, or get another drink or anything. Like, oh my!
I
Somebody
have my
says,
cheesecake.
oh yeah, yes, she brought a cheesecake. Like, we should have like cocktails and courageous conversations and food. Like we
And
should
cheesecakes.
add cheesecake. We should add food to this. So if there's no further questions or comments or anything like that, I love that we're reading the comments. They're saying thank you and all of that.
Thank you.
Like, literally, it means the world to Sabina and I that you people came in here with us and sat with us tonight. And somebody might watch this later, and we appreciative of that too. It feels like so we know that we're not alone. It's a little strange to have like conversations like this, because you're literally staring into a camera and you can feel like, well, it's a bit, it's different. So if you come so after this webinar, you will get a link to, whenever this is done, I'll put the recording on the website. In there, you'll also find a link to Sabina's website, because you want to check out all of the cool stuff that she's doing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming in here and having a drink with us. We just love that, like a bunch of people having a drink together, talking about stuff that matters. So that's it from us. Wishing you a happy Christmas. Happy Christmas and Merry New Year. Can we say that we're turning it around? So
Happy
love
Christmas.
you guys. Take care of yourself. I'm just going to go into gallery view, and I'm going to ask you guys to wave to the camera. Mwah. Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you when I see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Dziękuję wszystkim
Thank you.
moim przyjaciołom z Polski. In Polish, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Very nice.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.